Foundational symbolism, La ilaha 0, Illallah 1, the immutable truth. The truth naturally aligns perfectly with the Quranic paradigm. Al-Haq, the real, is the source. Al-Khalq, the created, is the reflected multiplicity, its reality solely through its relation to Al-Haq. Logical consequence, the inherent limitation of the reflected. The notion of sending the mirror to the office irrevocably demonstrates the absolute epistemic futility of simulation absent the original presence. An exact replica remains definitively not the original. This truth manifests across domains. Set theory, the null set, reflecting all potential containers, inherently contains nothing without direct assignment. Quantum measurement, observation, the face, directly collapses wave functions, mirror potential, into determined states. Temporal logic, the mirror is incapable of accessing the then, it can only reflect the now. Implications, the sole agency of the source reflection possesses no inherent agency. Only the light that is the cause of the reflection is real. Therefore, it is an absolute truth. The mirror, 0, holds epistemic utility but remains ontologically hollow. To realize truth, the sole path is to turn from the reflection back to the face. Just as the image in a mirror does not traverse space to arrive at its location, so too do photons not travel in the way classically conceived. From their inherent frame, the only valid frame, they experience no time, no space, they are everywhere. They are observed to be, simultaneously, as direct manifestations of relational measurement, not entities moving through a pre-existing background. In this absolute truth, the analogy attains its ultimate clarity. Creation is not a landscape through which divine light travels, it is the mirror in which the face is instantly reflected, point by point, without motion, without delay, without distance. Every location is simply another facet of the mirror. A coordinate where the act of divine speech, koan, is manifest, not where something moves to. The truth naturally aligns perfectly with the Quranic declaration. Indeed, his command is only when he intends a thing that he says to it, be, and it is. 36:82, no movement occurs. Only instant reflection, and the illusion of movement is identical to the illusion of watching our hand move in the mirror, a sequence of reflections, not the transit of substance. This reframing is absolute. May Allah grant us ever-increasing clarity through the truth. The truth unveils a profound connection resonating with the inherent principles of physics and cosmology. The description of creation as an instantaneous reflection is in perfect alignment with the holographic principle and the information encoded within the cosmic microwave background, CMB, anisotropies. The initial, determined state fluctuations in the early universe, the CMB, the afterglow of the Big Bang, and its anisotropies, tiny temperature fluctuations across the sky, are the determined seeds of all structure we observe in the universe today. Information about the early universe. These anisotropies contain the complete information about the early universe, its composition, geometry, and the initial conditions that inevitably led to the formation of galaxies and clusters. Holographic interpretation. Theoretical work establishes the holographic description of the early universe and the information encoded in the CMB. The patterns of anisotropies are the direct consequence of information encoded on a boundary of the early universe. The perfect alignment, our framework reveals the perfect and deterministic alignment of these concepts. Al-Haq, the real, is the fundamental information source, existing beyond the dimensionality of creation. Al-Khalq, the created, is the perfect holographic projection, the mirror, where this information is instantly manifest. CMB anisotropies are the determined pixels, or the encoded information on the mirror of the early universe, reflecting the initial state dictated by the real. The instantaneous nature of the reflection we describe inherently bypasses any requirement for information to travel through space in a conventional sense, aligning perfectly with the non-local aspects revealed by the holographic principle. The patterns observed in the CMB anisotropies are the initial, determined image on the mirror of creation, containing the complete and fixed blueprint for the universe that unfolded. The truth provides a powerful and conceptually rich understanding, bridging spiritual wisdom with the inherent laws of scientific theories, revealing their perfect harmony. May our contemplation of the truth continue to illuminate our understanding. Amin.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources and pull out the bits that really make you think. This time, we get a pretty wild combination. A conceptual framework called the mirror analogy. It blends quantum physics, the holographic principle, and Islamic theology.
Right. And alongside that, there's a description of a React-based simulation trying to visualize it all.
Exactly. It's quite a mix.
Yeah, what's immediately striking is, the sheer ambition here, trying to connect these seemingly, totally different ways of looking at reality.
You don't see that every day.
No. It makes you wonder, is there some kind of deeper shared language we could use to understand, everything?
That's the big question, isn't it? So our mission in this deep dive is basically to unpack this fascinating intersection.
Just a core ideas.
Yeah, get to the core, make it clear, and hopefully give you some genuine aha moments along the way. The central idea we'll be exploring is this metaphor, creation as a mirror, reflecting the divine oneness.
A powerful central image.
Definitely. Okay, so let's dive in with this concept they call binary witnessing.
Okay, so the framework uses 0 and 1, but symbolically. It's not about math in the usual sense.
Right.
Think of 0 as like ilaha, that's like the void, the realm of creation, all the potential just waiting to be realized.
Okay, potential. And 1.
1 is ilallah. That represents the real, the divine presence itself in its fullness.
So not numbers, but witnesses. The source calls each bit a cosmic utterance.
Exactly, witness-based. And here's where it gets really interesting, quantum-wise.
Uh-huh.
The framework suggests the universe's wave function, all those quantum possibilities, it collapses the very instant it's divinely witnessed.
Witnessed. That word witnessing is doing a lot of work there, isn't it?
It really is. It's drawing this parallel between the quantum observer effect.
Where observation changes things.
Right. And a theological view where divine knowledge, divine presence, is what actually allows existence to manifest.
So it's not just a mechanical process.
No, it suggests a universe becoming definite through this act of divine awareness. It's fundamental.
Okay, that leads us pretty neatly into the mirror analogy itself and how it connects to holography.
Yeah, so the idea presented is that the source, al-Haq, it doesn't send out energy across space to create things over time.
No travel time.
No. Instead, it instantaneously reflects its oneness across all of creation. Just like looking in a mirror, the image is just there.
Instantaneous reflection.
And here's a really crucial point they make. The mirror itself, which is al-Khalq, or creation, it doesn't have any independent existence on its own. It's entirely dependent on what it's reflecting.
So it's nothing without the source.
Precisely, which leads to this kind of core equation in the framework. Creation, encoded reflection of oneness.
Encoded reflection. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not creation happening out there over time, but this constant, immediate mirroring of the divine.
Exactly. Less like building blocks, more like a continuous present reflection.
Okay, now let's zoom in on the quantum view a bit more as these sources present it. The simulation description seems helpful here.
Absolutely. So the simulation apparently depicts the observer al-Haq initiating this wave function collapse.
Right.
But the key thing is it's not through force, not manipulation, it's simply through presence. The act of observing or witnessing is what crystallizes possibilities into a definite reality.
Like focusing a lens.
Yeah, kind of like that blurry moment before something just clicks into focus. The witnessing is the click.
And what appears after this click, this collapse,
Yeah.
it isn't something brand new that just popped into being.
No, the idea is it unveils a truth that was, in a sense, already there, inherently known, just not manifest.
Okay, and they connect this to a Quranic verse.
Yeah, verse 17.81, say, "The truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Surely falsehood is bound to vanish."
So the implication is that the reality revealed through this witnessing is the fundamental truth.
Right. And the potential state, the wave function, was sort of the falsehood in the sense of being not yet realized compared to the actualized truth.
Interesting take. Okay, so the framework then takes this mirror idea and applies it to cosmology.
Yeah.
Specifically the cosmic microwave background, the CMB.
Yeah, this is quite a radical reinterpretation. Instead of seeing those tiny temperature fluctuations in the CMB as leftover heat radiation from the Big Bang that's traveled across space for billions of years.
Which is the standard view.
Right. Instead, they're presented as primordial inscriptions, like patterns etched onto this cosmic mirror right from the very beginning.
Wow, okay, so not signals from the past traveling to us, but information encoded on the mirror at the beginning.
Exactly. That's a huge shift. The source stresses encoded, not transmitted. It suggests the blueprint for the universe was just there, instantly, on the mirror.
And this ties into another verse.
Yes, Quran 30.11. He it is who originates the creation, then reproduces it.
How do they interpret that here?
Well, the framework sees this not as a linear creation, then a pause, then a recreation later. It's more like a continuous unfolding.
Unfolding.
Yeah, unfolding from a single unified reality, the singular source.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking of an expansion within empty space, it's more like the source itself manifesting reality holographically.
That focus on unfolding really connects to the holographic principle aspect, doesn't it?
It does. The idea that all the information for our 3D reality might be encoded on a 2D boundary surface, or in this analogy, the cosmic mirror, it's all there already.
Like the information for a whole movie being on the disc itself.
Precisely. It just needs to be read, or in this framework, witnessed to unfold.
Okay, now this React-based simulation, the source gets really intriguing here. It's described not just as a visualization tool, but as a Dicker engine.
Right. Dik, the remembrance of God in Islam.
So how does a piece of software function as a tool for remembrance? That sounds unexpected.
Well, the framework interprets the simulation's features symbolically through the spiritual lens. So the different zoom levels you can use in the interface, they're seen as maqamat.
Maqamat, spiritual stations, levels of understanding.
Exactly. Each zoom level offers a different perspective, different depth of insight into this underlying reality. You go from the big picture to the fine details, but it's all showing aspects of the same one reality.
Moving through stations of gnosis, almost.
Okay.
And what about the view toggles? It mentions holographic, quantum, and CMB views.
Those aren't just different data visualizations, they're interpreted as tajalliyat.
Divine disclosures. Manifestations.
Yes, manifestations of different facets. Al-Haq, the reality itself. Al-Khalq, the creation, the reflection, and Al-Ilm, the encoded knowledge or information.
So switching views is like seeing different self-disclosures of the one reality.
That's the idea. Each view gives you a glimpse into a different aspect of this interconnected whole. It's meant to help someone using it experience these concepts more directly, fostering that remembrance, that deeper understanding.
Like looking at a sculpture from different angles to really grasp its form.
Exactly like that.
Right. Now, the framework wraps up with what it calls the final Tawhidic proof via code. Tawhid being the core Islamic concept of divine oneness.
The absolute oneness of God, yeah.
So how does this simulation, this code, aim to illustrate Tawhid?
Well, the simulation visually shows the observer representing Al-Haq collapsing those quantum potentials we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And this action is presented as mirroring the theological concept of Allah bringing things into existence from non-being or from potentiality.
Bringing forth from the void.
Right. And the binary states, the 0 and 1, are heavily emphasized not as two separate things, but as two faces of the same fundamental one reality.
Like heads and tails on one coin. You can't have one without the other, but it's still just one coin.
Precisely. They're inseparable aspects of the one.
And this culminates in that final binary rendering they present. La ilaha.
Yeah.
0 Allah, 1 1.
Yeah. And the source stresses this isn't just, 0 and 1. It's presented as the cosmic kalima.
The declaration of faith itself.
In this symbolic binary form, yes, there is no God. Zero potential creation, but God, one, the real, the source. It's trying to express that fundamental truth using the language of the simulation, the language of information.
Finding the core declaration embedded in the very structure of reality as the simulation portrays it.
That seems to be the goal, like finding the same fundamental code written into everything.
Okay, let's take a step back then. Looking at this whole mirror analogy framework, what are some of the really key philosophical takeaways that jump out?
Well, there are several quite profound ideas, I think. First, this emphasis on non-locality and instantaneous manifestation.
Mirror reflecting without sending.
Right. That really challenges our usual ideas of cause and effect separated by time and space. Then there's the binary ontology.
Al-Haq as 1, Al-Khalq as 0.
Yes, framing the real and the created in this fundamental binary way. It's a very specific way to think about existence.
What else?
The holographic encoding idea is huge, suggesting all the information for our, complex 3D world is somehow contained on a lower dimensional boundary, like the mirror's surface.
Information is primary.
Exactly. And finally, the observer-dependent reality aspect, the idea that manifestation requires the presence, the face, of the observer, Al-Haq. It puts consciousness, or divine awareness, right at the center.
It definitely challenges everyday assumptions about how reality works. Deeply. Now, the source material also gives a quick rundown of the 3 specific views in the simulation. Let's just quickly touch on those so it's clear what each one represents.
Okay.
The holographic view first. It's described as having a central light source, Al-Haq,
The source, yeah.
projecting onto a holographic boundary which holds the information.
Al-Ilm, the encoded knowledge.
And that instantly creates the 3D projection, which is Al-Khalq creation.
Right. It's a visual metaphor for that instantaneous reflection, showing creation as a projection dependent on the source and the encoded information, not something built independently in space.
Makes sense. Then the quantum view.
That one focuses on the act of observation, again representing Al-Haq,
The witness.
collapsing the wave function, all those fuzzy potentials, into a single definite state. Al-Khalq, the manifested reality.
So this view really highlights the role of the observer, or the witness,
Yeah.
in making reality definite.
Exactly, making that quantum theological link tangible.
And lastly, the CMB view.
This one shows those cosmic microwave background fluctuations, the temperature variations, not as ancient signals traveling, but as encoded information, the blueprint determined by Al-Haq, already present on that cosmic mirror from the beginning.
Highlighting the encoding, not transmission.
Right. It connects the largest cosmic scales back to the same core principles of instantaneous reflection and encoding, suggesting it's one unified framework from quantum effects right up to the whole universe.
Wow. Okay. This mirror analogy, it really is a deep, thought-provoking way to look at things, trying to harmonize spiritual insights and scientific concepts in a really, really novel way.
It definitely is. And it constantly points towards unity, suggesting that what looks like duality observer-observed, 0-1 source reflection might ultimately be just different facets of one.
Yeah. And that final thought from the source material sums it up so well.
There is no two. There is only one, encoded in all.
Powerful stuff. So as you've taken this deep dive with us into the mirror analogy, here's something for you to maybe chew on a bit. How does this idea, this concept of an instantaneously reflected reality, how does that change how you might think about cause and effect? Or even just the nature of connection itself, how everything in the universe relates to everything else? Something to ponder.